А,
Ох,
Як ми знаємо, що Український культурний фонд – це перш за все грантова інституція, але ми також намагаємося спрямувати наші зусилля для того, щоб влаштовувати такі події, для того, щоб представники нашої культурної сфери могли розвивати свої навики та компетенції. І сьогодні ми маємо з нами Антоніно Козентіно. Він є представником компанії CHSOS, яка займається оцифруванням культурної спадщини. Захід нашої сьогоднішньої події буде англійською мовою, тому зараз я перейду на англійську і дам слово нашому спікеру. So, Antonino, the floor
yes.
is yours.
Thank you. Well, thank you all for this meeting, for organizing this event. For me, it's a very great pleasure to help in this endeavor of making something now in these particular times. And so definitely I'm happy to help as I can. So for today, I would like to introduce you to one of the most basic technique used in art examination. It can be done for looking into paintings. So we're gonna talk about the infrared, the ultraviolet to see the story of the art, but also for conservation. So to starting to see some conservation issues. So, well, how I organized this talk is I made a video recording, because the idea is I show you all the workflow rather quickly, of course, but you see all the workflow to make technical photography and multispectral imaging. So, I mean, it will take time to organize live. So the idea, I made just a video recording. Then after the video recording, so you can ask me question. There will be a Q&A question time. So definitely I'm here to help. Before we start actually the video, I show you my lab, the CHSOS Studio, Cultural Heritage Science Open Source. So the idea when I started this initiative was to focus on affordable, practical methods. So my goal was to aim at conservation studios rather than universities, research lab, which can have very advanced equipment. So basically I started with technical photography, that is basically using a normal commercial digital camera, just modified with the right filters and the lamps. So this is my studio. This part is the technical photography part. So the lamps are on the ceilings. The camera is also on the ceiling, and basically you will see in the video this area. So this is the table where I do the imaging part, also is for transmit the light. Then now I have in the lab also the spectroscopic part. So we see here we have a little bit of FTIR spectroscopy, Raman spectroscopy with some microscopes. So basically, the idea is to have these basic tools for art examination in a lab. So here is the room for radiography, X-ray in general. So we have here the XRF spectrometer. This is the radiographic system. So with the tube and with the sensor over there. And then here we have the microscopic part. For microscopy, so we have some a standard microscope, a polarized, a fluorescence microscope. So basically, this is a little bit of a lab with the basic tools to analyze samples of paintings, basically, and do the imaging part. Okay, so I'm done with a little bit of introduction. So we can start the video.
Okay, just a few seconds.
And there it is.
Hello, nice to meet you. This is the CHSOS lab. CHSOS stands for Cultural Heritage Science Open Source. This is an initiative starting from 2012 which aim at promoting affordable, relatively low cost and practical methodologies for art and archaeology examination and documentation. In particular, we have been working on the imaging part of this task. This lesson will introduce the basic, the most fundamental technologies for art documentation, which is technical photography. By this term, we indicate all those photographic methodologies that we can pursue using a digital camera modified to cover basically the initial part of the UV spectrum, the visible, and the initial part of the infrared spectrum. So basically, roughly the range between 350 nanometer, so the UV, and then until 1000 nanometer, the near infrared. So basically, to do this, we need this digital camera. So up there, you will see on the top of this scaffolding, we have some of the lamps and the camera. So we are using Nikon D800 modified camera to cover UV, vis, and IR. And okay, so basically the camera operates using some filter. Here is the filter set. So we designed this filter set. It's made of basically 3 filters plus an adapter for the camera. So this is the 72mm size. So we have a filter named visible. This means that this filter allows just visible light. Then we have IR, infrared, so just infrared light, and then we have UV, just UV radiation. Okay, so basically let's start with examining something. This technical photography, its main application and the more, let's say, more interesting and straightforward is for the analysis of pigments in artworks, pigments, wall paintings, works on papers. So let's say we want to start examining pigments, so we use the pigment checker. This one is a collection of historical pigments. Okay. So we can open. So the pigments are over here, and these are certified historical pigments. So they start from antiquity, so we have like vermilion, the ochre, red ochre, and realgar. So these historical pigments used from antiquity. And then also we have some of modern age pigments. So basically these cover pigments until 1950, the early 50s. These pigments are laid on this 3mm acrylate plastic, so which is semi-transparent, and then basically under the pigments they are painted on a cardboard, and on the cardboard there is a cross made with a carbon-based ink. Then the pigments cover this cardboard, so basically we are going to use the cross to check the transparency of the pigments when we do infrared photography. And okay, so for example over here you see this pigment is very transparent, is like, let's say, it's a lake, so it's transparent, so we see the cross already. For the other pigments, for example, here cadmium yellow, no, cadmium yellow has a very high covering power, so we don't see anything. Okay, so we are going to put the pigment checker over here and we start to do our analysis. We move here on the computer and the computer, you see, I go here in a live view. The computer is connected with the camera that stands over there. So right now we are seeing the object, the pigment checker, and the camera doesn't have any filter on it. So it's collecting basically UV, visible, and IR. So let's put on the visible filter. Okay, so you see it goes over here. The image look bluish because it doesn't have white balance. Okay, it doesn't matter because when we do this acquisition we shoot raw format and then after that we do the white balance. In particular, you notice over here we have the technical photography calibration card, which is used to make the final white balance when we are ready to edit the images. So we start to focus, take the first image of the visible. Okay, the camera is connected to the laptop. So we go here in a Digicam control. I use this software, this is a free software to tether the camera with the laptop. And there we are, we go in the live view. Okay, the camera is over here. Okay, so we see our pigment checker on the screen, and that's fine. So we can check the focus, the exposure to take the image. Okay, so we have the visible filter on it. So we can close a little bit maybe the aperture. Okay, so we look at the histogram, shutter speed is too much, 120, okay, really just better, so we see all of it. We can magnify a little bit to make on focusing better. Okay, we can do manual focus from here, also from the software we can focus. Okay, there it is. Basically this is okay, we go back to here, we see all the image. We can take this visible image. Okay, the image has been taken. And basically, when we do a technical photography examination, we use the visible image as our reference. And then we're gonna put all the other images, the infrared, UV fluorescence, UV reflected, on top of this visible image. So in order to check the differences and the information that we need to know. Okay, so the image, it's saved on the computer and we can retrieve it. I use this raw therapy. Remember, we always take images in the raw format, so in order then to be able to edit as we need. So this is the image we just took. Let's rename it immediately. So here we are in images. This is the image I took before. Okay, this is the image. So this one will be this visible image. Okay, then we go back here on raw therapy. Okay, there we are, this image. Okay, so we can do the white balance here. We use this tool. Okay, the image looks like much better. Okay, so for now it's all. I mean, we want to just show the different technique we do. So we can export this image. Okay, so this one will be exported as a JPEG. here on the desktop in the temporary, I call it the temporary folder. Okay, let's see, temp, okay, Q on, and we are ready, and the image is saved. Okay. Okay, so basically this one is our visible image we just took of the pigment checker. Okay, let's move now to the actual examination technique. So generally what I do is after the visible image, I start to do photo into the UV. So we do UV fluorescence, the acronym is UVF. In order to do this image, we need to have the Fabrizio UV lamp. This is a lamp we made for this for art examination. So we needed to have this lamp on, and we need to make as much darkness as possible. Okay, there we are. So we turn off all the other lamps. One. Okay. Okay, we close everything. And also this one. Okay, and the visible light. And we turn on the UV lamp. There it is. Okay. Okay, so we go back now. So we need to remove anything that has a fluorescence in it. Okay. We go back to the camera. Okay, so this is the live. So right now live is the image in the UVF. Of course it's pretty dark, so we need to increase the exposure. So here we have half a second, so let's have more of it. Okay. Okay, pretty nice, there it is. So basically what we see in this image, maybe a little bit more exposure. Okay. It's that some pigments have their own fluorescence already. So for example here we have also we have Mother Lake, we have over here we have some of the yellows have their own fluorescence. Let's take the image as it is, so we are ready. Okay, so we just click capture. Okay, the image is done, so we can turn off the UV lamp. Okay. And we can edit the image we just shot. Okay, so the image is saved here. So it's over here, and we want to rename it UVF, UV fluorescence. Then we go in raw therapy, that is the software we use to edit these raw images. Okay, just we go back into the folder again, so we refresh it. UVF, and there it is. Okay, so double click. Okay, and this is the UVF photo. What we need to do is to adjust a little bit the temperature of the photo with this parameter that I already have set up here in the profile. So basically, doing this adjustment, now we see here the actual photo, the actual colors as I will see with my naked eye. So from here we see which one of these pigments have their own strong fluorescent emission. So it's a method to start to identify them at least as a first attempt for their identification. Okay, so this yellowish color is a zinc white. Then we have a Mother Lake that has this orange color. And then we have this, this orange color that is a varnish. Okay, so we have, for example, this one very yellow is a saffron, has the strong emission. Okay, then we can export this image as a standard JPEG. Go here in the queue. Okay, there it is. And so now we go here in this temporary folder. You see, we have two JPEG images. So what we do is we go in GIMP. GIMP is the free alternative to Photoshop, so we use it extensively since it's free and it has all the features that we need to edit, manipulate, explore, actually examine these images. So definitely we recommend it to Photoshop. As an alternative to Photoshop, also because we don't need that much information that is in Photoshop, so this one is pretty nice. So what we do here on GIMP is we just drag and drop the images. Okay, so the visible image, and then we drag and drop the UVF image. Do convert, and there it is. So you see, GIMP is a very nice tool to immediately you see, we can switch between layers, so it's easy. For example, I have here this very bright color. I see Mother Lake over here, and I see the color in the visible. Then, for example, we go over here where there is a zinc white. You see, we have this yellowish color. And you see, in the visible zinc white, it's totally white. When we do UV fluorescence, it starts to have its own yellowish color. Okay, so that's it's a good way to distinguish the presence of the zinc white. Okay, pretty good. Now we can explore other methods. The other methods is UV reflected UV, UVR, called this method. So to do this methodology, we need to change the filter. Now it's visible. We want to put UV, the UV filter. So this is a filter, is dark. It allows just UV radiation. So we put over here using this magnetic adapter of the Robertina filters set, and basically we can go back to our camera. You see, now the camera is alive, we are in live view, and we don't see anything, so it's pretty dark. This is because we don't have any UV radiation in the environment. So we turn on the Fabrizio UV lamp. Okay, there we are. And now we start to see something. There it is. So what we see now is a UV radiation. Okay, and before we take the image, we need to check the focus. Because when we move from visible to UV, there is always a little bit of a change. So we magnify over here, check a little bit the focus. Okay, there it is. We go back to 100% view. The exposure is pretty fine. We can take the image. So we go here. Okay, image taken. We can shut down the UV Fabrizio lamp. Oops, there we are. And then we can explore the image. So we go here in raw therapy, file, browser. Actually, we have to rename the image. So I like this the image we just took, so UVR, and there it is. Let's double click on it. Okay, so this is the image with this brownish color, but actually we want to edit in a black and white. So here we have some profile already created, and the image is in black and white, pretty fine. We can export it as a JPEG. So we go here, and the image should appear here in a temporary folder. There it is. Okay, UVR is over here, and now we go into GIMP. Okay, so these are our images. We go into GIMP and we drag and drop this image. Convert, and there it is. Okay, so basically what happens again is easy now to check the pigments and to see what's strange. In particular, this method UVR is used to distinguish the white historical pigments like lead white, because lead white, you see, is over here. Lead white, this pigment reflect the UV, so it's pretty bright in this image. It's over here. This is the swatch. On the other hand, the new white pigments from 1920s, like zinc white is over here, zinc white, and then a titanium white over here. You see, these are new pigments that replaced lead white. These new pigments become very dark. They absorb the UV. So this method is very useful in order to quick check the presence of, for example, retouching of original lead white with modern white pigments. Okay, so, and you know, this methodology is nice about this technical photography, that is very fast, very simple to take the image and to have this information. Okay, so we saw this one, and at this point we can move to something else. So we did visible, UVF, UVR, infrared. Okay, for the infrared we need to change the filter as usual. So this was the UV. We move into the IR, infrared filter. We look at the camera. Digicam control over here. We go in live view. Okay, so you see the image is pretty dark because we have just visible lights on the side. The filter allows just infrared, so we need to turn on the infrared sources. So in this library now we have the infrared lamps. I'm just using some halogens. Okay. Okay, there we are. So we see the image over here. Let's increase a little bit the exposure. Okay, pretty good. We go into magnification and we check the focusing. Okay, pretty good. A little bit. Okay, okay, focusing is fine, exposure is fine. We can take this image. Pretty good. We took the image, so we go here in this folder where the raw files are saved. We rename this one as IR. Okay, and then we go to open this one into raw therapy. Okay, so we go in the file browser, IR. Okay, and we want to have this image again in black and white. So we have this profile, there it is. Okay, so far is pretty nice. We can keep it as it is. We want to export this one as a JPEG. So the image will appear here. Temporary folder. Okay, there it is. And we can load this one as before into GIMP. Okay. So this is the IR image, and there it goes. Okay, it's overlapped over there. So what happens here? We make some comparison. So for example, let's look at smolt, for example. We are over here. So we see in the infrared, we see this cross. Okay, let's look at the visible image. You see, in the visible image, we barely see this cross. We become more visible into the infrared. Let's look at something else that is more opaque. So for example, let's see here, Maya blue, like indigo, it's very dark. Let's see. Okay, so here we have indigo. So indigo, it's very dark, so we don't see the line. When we move into the infrared, you see indigo becomes totally transparent. So this is the effect of the infrared photography that makes the pigments transparent. So we can see if there is any basically underdrawing. Okay, pretty good. So we show also this application. We now move to IRF, infrared fluorescence. So this method, we keep the same infrared filter, but we do turn on these two lamps over here. They are called Alice lamps. So basically these lamps, they make just a visible light. So we turn off the infrared. So basically now we are sending just a visible radiation. We are sending just a visible radiation over the object, and the filter just allow infrared. So this is a phenomenon where some pigments they absorb the visible and emits the infrared. So let's look here. Let's increase the exposure. Let's make 4 seconds. Okay, there we are. So you see here already we have some spots that are very bright. So we can make it like more exposure. Let's make 6. Okay, 4 is fine. Okay, so there it is, 4 seconds. We take this image, we shut it. 4 seconds. Okay, so we go back here in session 1. We have the new raw file. We rename it immediately IRF. Pretty nice. And then we go into raw therapy. So we go in the file browser, IRF, there it is. Okay, let's make it smaller. And then we can go into black and white. Okay, pretty good. And basically in this image we see that some pigments have a very bright emission in IRF, so it can be identified. Let's see what pigments they are. So we need to export this image as a JPEG, yeah, and then we import into raw therapy, into GIMP, sorry, in order to make the comparisons to see what pigments are, where they are located. Okay, so we have a temp here, this is IRF, so I do drag and drop. convert, and there it is. So I go here and I can switch between IRF and visible. So I see, apart a little bit of this image need then to be registered, because when we change the focus, they change the position. Okay, so but what we see here is that the strongest one is Egyptian blue over there, and the other one is Han blue, which basically is made of the same material. So basically these are the two pigments that have the strongest emission in the with this method. So this is a method basically used mostly in archaeology. There are other pigments that we can tell with this method using, instead of the Alice lamp, so instead of a visible lamp, just a visible lamp, we can use UV radiation. So we turn on the Fabrizio lamp, we switch off the Alice. Okay, and we go back into the camera. Okay, we go back in live view. Okay, and we take the image. Okay. Okay, so we go in session. So this is the image. So let's turn off the UV lamp. We don't need it. Okay, so this one will be IRF UV, because we are using the UV lamp. Okay, so we go in raw therapy, we go in the file browser, IF UV, okay, so the image seems pretty dark, but actually we can do a little bit of increasing the exposure. You see over here, we just need a little bit more exposure. Anyway, I adjusting the contrast, and there we are. So now we see a lot of other points that are very bright in our image. So let's make it also black and white. Appear like this should be. Okay, let's increase a little bit again the exposure. Okay, there we are. Okay, so we can save this image as a JPEG. So we go now into GIMP. Then we go into temp, and we have IRF UV. So we can drag and drop this one on top of this. Okay. Okay, there it is. And so we can make a comparison. This one is a URF UV. This one is a IRF standard, so using the visible light. Again, we make the comparison. So basically what happens is that using a UV, now we are seeing much more pigments. This one is still Egyptian blue and Han blue, but clearly we have this other over here. So let's see what they are. So we make a comparison with the visible. And so you see this one over here, this is a red spot, that is a cadmium red, is on my checker, is over here. Then we have Han blue and Egyptian blue. And then we have new ones. So, okay, smaller, 1, 2, and 3. These one are cadmium red, cadmium green, and cadmium yellow. So over here, there it is. So basically with this technique we can tell the presence of the cadmium based pigments Basically, cadmium green is just a combination of cadmium yellow with phthalo blue. Yeah, with the phthalo blue. So basically, it's already cadmium yellow. So basically, these cadmium pigments, cadmium red, cadmium yellow, cadmium orange, they have this phenomenon of emission. So it's easy to recognize them using this technique. Okay, so these are all the methods we standard. We use, at least the most important. Then there will be polarized light, a little bit of other variation. But these are the main important, using and switching basically the three filters we saw in the Robertina filter set. So we just switch this one, we turn on the right lamps, and we can get this information already, so telling where is the Egyptian blue pigments if we do archaeology, the cadmium pigments for modern contemporary art. We can tell zinc white, titanium white, tell the difference. So we see some pigments have a specific fluorescence on their own, like Madder Lake. Okay, so now we continue, we demonstrate another method within the technical photography methodologies. So far we saw visible, UVF, UVR, IR, IRF. All these methods were done with basically the camera here on the top, the lamps on the same side of the camera, and here on the other side we have the painting. The painting facing its face toward the camera. So this one is the standard methodology, the standard method, which is nice. So it's definitely the first method to try. But we can do another approach. This approach it's called transmittance method. So the idea in this case, we are going to do this method using these light panels called salvo, and basically this light panel can produce UV, vis and IR radiation. So basically, for example, we try the most interesting, the IR. So what happens is that when we have IR coming from the back of the painting, the pigments become more transparent. So basically, whenever it's possible, so when we have a painting on canvas painting, it's really worth to try this method, because we are going to see much more transparency. Okay, so let's I turn on. So here right now we are live and we have a lot of light from outside, so we need to switch off all the other lights basically. So we want to make darkness over here. Okay. Okay, this would be, it's already enough. Okay, and we switch on the IR LEDs. You see there is a lot of infrared coming from the panel. We would like to check a little bit the focusing. It seems to be fine. The image actually is a little bit too much overexposed. Let's go in control, aperture, instead of 4 seconds, let's do 2 seconds. I think it's pretty fine. Let's go back to see all the image. Okay, this will be fine. Well, actually, when we do the real image, we can cover the sides with some cardboard, just to avoid to have this glare from the rest of the panel. So something like this, for example. We should avoid to touch the pigment checker, so it's registered. The other one. Okay, let's say much better. Okay, so this side over here. Okay, and there is a little bit. Okay, there's a little bit over here. This spot we covered. Okay, minus. Okay, and we can still cover this one. Okay, this is fine. So basically we covered the pigment checker. We can take this image. Okay, so go here, shooting the image. Okay, so I close the live view, the image is over there, and we do the usual editing with our raw therapy. Okay, so if it's not open, raw therapy, we turn on the lights. Okay, so for me it's better to work. Okay, so we go here in visible. Okay. Okay, we go in a raw therapy and we edit these raw images we just created. So the image is saved here in images. Is this one, so it's good to rename it. So how to rename it? Basically, we add a T to the name of the imaging method. So basically this one is infrared photography, but in transmission. So we add T, IRT, infrared transmitted. Okay, then we go here in raw therapy, IRF. Let's see if we have already. Okay, IRT, there we are. Okay, so as an editing, we just want to make it black and white, and so far is good, perfect, very nice picture. Okay, so we export it as a JPEG. Okay, it's pretty done. We go in GIMP. Okay, so here is GIMP. We have the infrared and the visible. We want to load this IRT image, so we go in where is the IRF? It's not yet here. Okay, let's look at raw therapy, the Q, temporary folder, yeah, should be there. Temporary IR. Okay, there it is. I didn't see it. Okay, so this is a GIMP. We drag and drop this IRT image. Convert. Okay, unfortunately I did touch the pigment checker, so as you see here it's not registered. No, there is a lot of movement. So we can do register this image over here. It's pretty simple, at least to make a fast registration. There it is, it's acceptable, at least for this demonstration. Okay, so what happens? Let's compare, for example, LED white. So this is a LED white over here, this white spot. The LED white is very important because we find it everywhere in art history. We do the IR image. This is one is IR, so standard infrared in reflectance mode. So the lamp are on the side, and you see LED white is opaque. When we do IRT, infrared transmitted, LED white becomes totally transparent. And so it's true for many of the other pigments. You see here chalk, titanium white. Basically, you see titanium white is over here, it's opaque in the infrared, standard infrared, become transparent in IRT. So this method is definitely very powerful. If you have painted objects that are on a semi-translucent support, so a canvas will work. I mean, painting on canvas works pretty well. Of course, you cannot do on wall paintings or paintings on wood, on a wooden panel paintings. Okay, so this is this transmission mode. Then also here you can try, there are the visible and the UV from here, so we can experiment with the other technique, for example for watermarks is very useful. Okay, so we can move to something else. Now we move to the core of this lesson. we will work with this other object. So from our collection, we have an historical prints. So it's a woodcut print over here, and it is also painted. You know, basically the print is in black and white and just with ink, and then at the time they added some colors to make the print more valuable. Okay, so now we're gonna try another technique. So we are going using the same digital camera, but instead of the filter set Robertina that we used for technical photography, so basically exploring what UV, visible and IR with just one filter, we are gonna use the Антоніно multispectral imaging set. So basically this is a collection of 18 filters. It has an adapter for the camera, and here inside there are 18 filters, so we can take just one for testing. Okay, so this one is the filter at 730. So it's a filter that allows light just in this spectral range, 730 plus or minus 5 nanometers. So it's a 725, 735. And we have 18 of these filters. So for example, over here, we are going to have the filter R480. So we are moving into this in the blue region. Okay. We need to apply this adapter. So it's also magnetic. So it's easy to put the filters on the camera. So we just drop them. Okay, so we are going to remove the Robertina filter set from the camera. Okay, we just screw the filter in position, the adapter. There we are. Okay, so we connect the camera, going to the camera as usual. So it's important when we do this photograph, we have a calibration card. So this is a technical photography calibration card that has here the swatches basically we saw before, cadmium white, zinc white, shellac, madder lake. So we needed to put it over here, and also it's good to have this one. So this one basically adjusts the targets, black and white, and they are important then to do the registration of the image. So definitely we want to have them in our screen, in our frame of the image. There we are. Okay. Okay, we go into the computer. Okay, and we can go in a live view. Okay, there we are. Control, so now is let's open all the way the aperture. Then we have to reduce the exposure, and also I want to have, in this case specifically, manual focusing. Okay, this is very important. Okay, so you see here we have our subject. We want to manual focus. Okay, so this will be standard image without any filter. So the idea is now we start to take images of this subject with these 18 filters. So it takes a little bit of a time to focus, take image. So we just do some of them, just to do an example. So for example, we can start here with the fourth filter. This filter is centered at a 467 nanometer. So this will be blue region. Okay, let's see what happens. I plug the filter. The image turns blue because, of course, this is a blue filter at 467, centered there in the blue. The image is dark, of course, because now instead of seeing all the spectrum, so all the visible, even the UV and the IR, because the camera is open, now the camera can see just 467 nanometer. So we need to increase it, the exposure. Okay, this one will be 1/50 of seconds. Okay, it's pretty bright. We can check the focusing as usual. Okay, it's already good. And as it is, we can take this image. Okay, there it is. The image will be stored as usual here. In the images, we can see them view in extra large icons. So okay. So remember, these are the images, standard images we did with technical photography, and this is our new image, and is in the raw format NEF for Nikon. Okay, then the idea is we move to the other filters, so unplug the filter. And for example, we go here, we take another one. This one is a 610. 610, so we are into the red region. Okay, there we are. So you see, I unplug the filter. There is a lot of light, it's overexposed. I go with the filter. So now we are doing a photo specifically in this range. We need to check the focus because since we are moving, it's likely, because we are moving into the spectral range, it's very likely that is a bit out of focus. Okay, there it is. Okay, the image is fine, it goes 100%. We can take this image. Okay, there it is. And so on, we can go through the other spectral filters. Now, once we have all these images, so now we just have 2, we are going to have 18. We do the editing of these images, so the calibration, we do a little bit of a registration, and then we can reconstruct the spectral cube. So the spectral cube basically is an overlapping of these 18 images on which we can do some algorithm, some elaboration. So basically, in general, we want to have false color mappings, classification of the image, so in order to distinguish the different pigments. Now we are done acquiring the images, so I collected already. I did the shooting just to save time. So you see over here we have 18 images. So we start with 405 nanometer. So we are close to the UV but still indivisible, this one. And then we go across all the blue, the green, and the red. And then this violet color is the infrared until 920. You see there are 6, 18, 12, 18 images. So these images then they are edited, so we have to manipulate a little bit until basically we have them in black and white and calibrated, we say. So these are the images that are ready to be added to the multispectral imaging software. So basically what you see here, if you notice, this card, the TP Technical Photography and MSI calibration card, has these gray patches, white and black, and basically these gray patches, you see, maintain this same gray color, gray value, because actually it's a gray value, while the other things, these colors, for example, here of the drawings, they change while we move across the images. So basically these are gray cards, these gray swatches are the ones that we use for the calibration. Okay, so this is the farthest infrared. We can go back to the UV, to the blue actually, the violet color. Okay, so what happens is that then with these images, I load them into a specific software, our multispectral imaging software. There it is. Okay, so it's called Hypercube. So I go into File, Open. We go on the desktop. This is the file. I already created the file to save time. Okay, we say load, continue, and there it is. So basically the file, this software is opening our images. Okay, so this is, okay, let's make it bigger. Okay. This is our print. Let's go to the king over here. Okay, so let's see, over here on the top we have this button. I click this button and you see what happens is I'm moving the different spectral images. So I'm going from the UV, from the violet 405 until this one is 920 nanometers, so it's the far infrared. Okay, do again. So I go back to the UV. Okay, so the images are overlapped. What I can do with this? So basically what I can do is there are different tools. So for example, we can go in this function. We have plot, spectral dynamic. Actually, no, let's use this function plot spectra, select the point. Okay, so let's say, for example, we have this king over here. So this part over here, I'm highlighting with mouse, is the robe, the shirt of the king, and it was blue in the visible color. I can click this area, and you see what I get is its spectrum. So basically over here on the x-axis we have the wavelength, and on the y-axis we have the intensity. Okay, so let's say for this blue color we have this shape. So there is a strong absorption over here and then has this shape over there. Okay, let's click here. This area of the actual robe of the king was green. So I click here and I get the spectrum. So you see here this green curve, it's very different from the blue. As this peak over here, which is actually is the blue. Okay, then let's click, so we saw the blue, let's click on the bird of the king, which was very red. We click here and we get this other spectrum. You see it's very different. Okay, and then we add the crown. The crown was yellow. I click over here and the point 4, so the crown has this shape over here, is indicated with this orange false color. Okay, so this is the concept of multispectral imaging or hyperspectral imaging if you have more powerful methods. So the idea is that different pigments have different spectral curves, so reflectance curves. So basically the software can, now I can ask the software to map, to classify, or as we say, to make a segmentation of this image. So what we do, we go in a function, classify, then, well, I choose more points to have more statistic. Basically, I'm, instead of just one pixel, I'm selecting some, well, almost 100 of them, okay, to have more statistic. Okay, and then I go here in a vector angle. Let's look into optimization. Okay, let's add 0.2 as a value for the threshold. Okay, anyway, I'm here, I do classify. So the software is elaborating across all the image and is creating this beautiful false color image. So basically the area, you see, for example, the bird, where I click for one point, now the software is recognizing all the pigments that makes the bird. So the same from the yellow of the crown, we see the yellow also over here in the in the sphere over here, and also the green of the robe. This is a first preliminary approach, and then we can make it more precise and do a little bit of editing. But this is the concept, and what is important, you see, is that the software it leaves just in black and white the other area, so we don't have the pigments that are not the same. This one are not recognized. Okay, so basically this is the concept of multispectral imaging, acquiring these images, then put them into a software to elaborate them. Why we use it? Basically the idea is that to recognize if there are pigments that in the visible they look the same, but they are chemical different materials. So with this technique we can distinguish basic area that have been retouched, or where there are different pigments that looks the same in the visible. So we basically we try to have this method of differentiation. So this is in particular the application MSI for pigments. Then there is another huge application is for inks, to retrieving inks like in palimpsest, this kind of work. Okay, thank you. So this is all for this lesson. So we covered technical photography from the beginning. So when we use a digital camera, a simple digital camera where we have basically just 3 filters, and this is what we can do when we have this Антоніно MSI system that has 18 filters on it. So we can do much more manipulation and extrapolation of that. Thank you so much for listening. Bye bye.
So thank you everyone for your attention. And first of all, I would like to express our gratitude to Антоніно for, first of all, for supporting Ukraine and Ukrainian cultural sphere, but also for his amazing job. And as a person without any technical background, I must also admit that it was really enthralling. So if you have any questions, so do not hesitate to raise your hand or to write something in chat box. If somebody needs help with translation, I will gladly provide you with that.
I'm connected, right? Do you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I understand. It's generally this 1 hour video is what I do in 3 days training programs. Okay, it's a lot of stuff. Gives you the idea of this imaging part that we use on cultural heritage, you know. So it's a lot, but at least you can see what it is, how it's done, what you can get. It's a technique, this one, that when people ask me what I need in a lab to do analysis, I mean, taking on photography is the first thing, because it's pretty easy compared to other technique. It's the most affordable, the equipment that doesn't require much maintenance. So makes a lot of sense also because you can use it with good results on anything. So we are talking about paintings, we are talking about architectural design, you know, you have wall paintings, so something big, something small, like a manuscripts, in archaeology. So it is something that basically find applications in many things. So if you are starting in this scientific analysis field, definitely taking on photography is the most practical method to start with. Okay, let's see. I see some questions here in the chat. Some of them already replied. Are pigment checker images in different spectrum range available online? Yeah, should be. On my website, I published once in a while. So otherwise, I mean, you can ask me and I will indicate where to find them. So on my website, basically all the resources are free, so you can download it, in particular for the spectra. So generally when I produce something, some results are available for free. So if there is not, just ask me and I can provide them, no problem.
If you don't mind, we can disseminate your website and to our listeners after the webinar.
Yeah, absolutely. It's my pleasure. Definitely.
So does anyone has any question?
Well, you can leave my contact because I mean I understand it's a lot of stuff, all these things. Just leave my contact so everybody can have my email. So later on, if they want more resources or something, I mean just contact me later on, and that's it. Yeah.
That would be great. Thank you. With your permission.
Okay, I don't hear you now. Maybe your microphone is off.
Katerina, you can
Oh, no,
unmute.
now okay. Now okay.
Do you hear me now?
Katerina, yes, sir.
Wonderful. So I have a question. First of all, thank you so much for all this information that you give us, and it's really important and for us, and it's wonderful. Really, thank you. And I have a question about color checkers, etc. Maybe there are some more affordable alternatives of color checkers. I understand that it's important. I understand the importance of color checker and of quality of this color checker, and I just find out that color checker which you use in your practice and which you show in your videos and lecture, they pretty much expensive.
Okay,
and
good question. Good question, Katerina. Nice for this question. Okay, so basically, my suggestion, that's it. So basically, I'm not government, I'm a business. So the idea, I was working in university, then I wanted to do the things on my own, also because I like to develop stuff and being fast in developing things that often in a university it's not. It's university is more slow and follow. So of course I have to charge money for my service, for the equipment and something. If there are plenty of other people, I mean, sometimes, for example, I sell equipment to the Qatar Museum. So they have plenty of money in Qatar. So, plenty of money. So they like, okay, pigment check, they buy 10 pigment checkers and so on. That's it. So I can buy then my own equipment, develop stuff. I need that. But my suggestion, as I started, I was just doing my PhD contract. So I had a little money. So the idea, yes, you can do these things with very affordable tools, whatever you find. So for example, the camera, I mean, I sell the camera modified, but you can use any camera you have and have somebody to modify it. I don't know in Ukraine how it is, but like in Italy and in Germany, there are places you can send the camera and they will modify something. Pigment checker, I mean, you don't have to use that. I mean, you can start with your own pigments that you find in your place, in your country, you know what they are, and starting to practice. So pigment checker is something ready. For example, the idea is it's over there, it's nice, it's cute, but you can make your own with the most important pigments that you need. I mean, even a pigment checker doesn't have all the pigments, it's just an educational tool. It's a practical to buy, who can buy, just buy for universities, colleges. Otherwise, I mean, my suggestion is to start as you can, or watch whatever you can afford and making simple. The most important thing is to start. So because then you start and you figure out things. So for example, I use for the camera is this high-end kind of camera, the Nikon, the 800, the 850. So they are very nice camera, but the concept works with any digital camera. So you can use even a webcam modified. So on the internet, you find there are people that show you how to modify a webcam. So very affordable, just remove the filter that stop the infrared, and with all the webcam, you already can start to do infrared photos. So definitely that's it. The idea is to start to do. If you have the time, the resource, you work in a lab where this is something that people are interested. There are ways, of course. You don't have to have the most affordable. Even, I mean, my equipment, because in this sector, things can become really expensive. So it's me. So for me was the idea, okay, to have something professional, decent, but still affordable. Then, you know, if there are, more they do the same things, but they will cost much more. So because maybe you have much more resolution in the detector of the camera, super high resolution as well. So the things that could become very, very expensive, but eventually the quality, the concept is the same. So my idea, my suggestion is start with a webcam, modify it. It's easy. You open the webcam, you remove the filter, and just scratch it, and you're ready to go. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your answer. So maybe does anyone else have questions? So do not be shy. So since there is no questions, I would like to thank you once again, Antonio, for your lesson. That was super interesting and super useful. So all the participants will receive your website and also the recording of today's webinar. So thanks for your attention, and thank you everybody for participation. So I hope that today we will have a calm day. See you.
Thank you so much. It was my pleasure. Bye-bye.
Bye.